I just ended up going to this session with Kelly Services that was the transition from Dade Schools to Kelly Services. It seems like this was an attempt on the district's ability to cut down on the usage of subs. For example, some people work as something called pool subs. That means not only do they work every day, but they're at a higher pay rate. Those people have been fired, and you're going to work on a day rate, but you're competing with other people for time slots. You have to enter yourself into the system. It almost seems like there's absolutely no guarantee how much you'll be working. They kept us over, had to go to the bathroom. I'm walking out, they have a district person from Dade in the room screaming at me in front of everyone in the room. I said, I have a disability, I have to go to the bathroom. I walked out. Miami-Dade County Schools transitioned all employees, so AKA, also known as fired everyone. No notice, 2 days or so before going back. So we don't work in the summer, so we have to account for our losses during the summer. And they have now switched us over to this thing called Kelly Services, where we're going to be like birds and trying to catch the bread to see if we can pick up a shift of subbing. I'm crying because I just got out of work. You guys never knew it, but I actually work as a substitute teacher for Miami-Dade County Schools. There appears to be absolutely no consistency with employment. It was bad enough before, because before there was a situation where we didn't work during holidays, we didn't work in the summers, but at least we worked 4 days a week, 8 days per pay period. And now, since this Kelly took over, there's absolutely no guarantee if we will be able to work on the days that we were floaters. Absolutely no guarantee of that. This is just another day working for Miami-Dade County Public Schools. This was the most disgusting bunch of people in this room, as far as the ones that were running it, that I've ever seen. We had someone from district in the room. She was screaming at us. It's a little bit before 9 o'clock in the morning. It's actually blazing hot out, right? It's actually really, really hot out right now, even though it's the morning. This is Miami, and we got a rental car because our car does not have air conditioning, so we had no choice but to get a rental car. So this is the rental car. Dad is driving me. I do have a driver's license. I just don't love driving, and also this is kind of very far, and it's kind of like not the best drive, you know, highways and stuff. So we're headed down to near FIU South for a session that I have to do in order to keep one of my jobs. We're in the car. I'm gonna head down towards FIU South. Near there, I have to go to a session now, even though I've held my job for the last 3 years, in order to keep my job, essentially, because company took over company. So we are headed now down towards FIU South because I work for Miami-Dade County Public Schools as a substitute teacher. I've worked there for the last 3 years. We were told last minute Kelly Education is essentially buying us out. I never mentioned that to you guys, but I do work. And, you know, I've been working for this for the last 3 years, worked in the last 3 years, and everything that we went through, you know, everything that the world went through, and went to work. One of the first people that went back to work. And now they are telling us from Miami-Dade County Schools, no notice, literally no notice, to essentially reapply, like a transition, but you're still technically reapplying. It's kind of guaranteed, but you still have to go through the motions. And now we are headed down to the session, where it's going to be a 2-hour session, and it's rough because I've done all this. I did a course. I did a weeks long course over at Miami-Dade College. You know, a ton of things I had to do, tests and everything. You know, background checks, fingerprinting, all that stuff. And now we are headed down near FIU South in order to keep my job, to go to this session that's going to be a couple of hours, where they explain to me that I am no longer a Miami-Dade County employee. That's basically what it's going to be. It's a lecture where they're going to explain to me that I am no longer a Miami-Dade County employee. I will lose access to my email. A Miami-Dade County employee. Before, I was actually a state employee under Miami-Dade County Public Schools. That means even though I was substitute teaching, that my ID, my number, my employee number, is your employee number for your entire career. So in other words, if you became a full-time teacher, it's still your employee number. If you got a job as a clerical worker, like an office assistant at a school, it's still your employee number. It's your employee number throughout your entire career. And I had access to the portal of Miami-Dade Schools. I was able to contact anyone who was in the system, direct access to do that. Their emails just pop up. And, it's a huge record of my life, over the last 3 years communicating with people. So now with no notice, we have been told that we are transferring to Kelly Education. I don't know how consistent it will be anymore because it was pretty much guaranteed to work every day at my school, or especially in this area. All of the areas here, up down here in the South Florida area. So I don't know what's going to happen now with this. Before, schools could just kind of tell you to come in and have you do help in the office, help in the halls, whatever they needed done, kind of like a floater. And this Kelly Education is telling me that unless there's a specific outage, that technically you can't work that day. And I don't know how accurate that is. The schools, of course, do get busy, where there's a lot of outages. There's been plenty of days when I'm working where they have to split classes and there's not enough subs. But there's a question mark up in the air for someone who needs their income, and I work this many days during the month each month as a sub. I need my income. So that's why number one, the income was never enough, because as you know, with subbing, we don't work during holidays, days off that come about like a hurricane, the summers, teacher work days, Thanksgiving, Christmas break, all that. We don't work. So it was not only was it a part-time job, but it was very inconsistent. Someone would say, how is it good that you got a part-time job where it averages out your, combined with summer and the holidays, you're missing a good 3 months of work, maybe more than that, 3.5 months of work. And it wasn't, but it was all that I was able to get for a very long time in Dade County, because it was something that needed an education, needed these requirements. In other words, it required you, for the type of sub I am, I'm a degreed substitute teacher. So for me, I'm at a higher pay rate. The ones that are the subs that are at the lower pay rate is so low that what was happening was they couldn't get any subs at the AA Associate's degree level, because the pay rate is so low that it wouldn't be worth it for a sub to do. So basically the only subs a school could get were degreed subs. So then now you need someone to have a degree. Now you need them to go through all these checks. Now you need them to go to a 2-week course at Miami-Dade College. Now they have to take a test online. So it was letters of recommendation. So it was a lot of obstacle for schools in the district to get subs. Now with Kelly Education, quite honestly, I don't know what the requirements will be. I don't know if it will be more lenient. I have no idea. So now I'm driving all the way down to FIU South. I am only now just starting to enter Bow Harbor, and then we'll go into Surfside. And it's going to be quite a drive. It's going to be an hour.
So far that now we have to stop at Publix in between to use the restroom.
Not this Publix, the next Publix.
The one that's in Miami Beach.
We're going to stop at Publix because this is going to be an hour and a half drive, and there's a ton of traffic. It's a work day. It's Monday right now when I'm filming this, and what happens is this road, although it's a quiet road, people now use to commute. They used to only use like the highways, but these smaller roads now have also become commuter roads. So because it's a Monday, that's what's going to happen. And again, we had to rent a car because our car doesn't have air conditioning because it's very, very hot out. It's extremely hot out. And so...
But right now it's a base temperature of 90.
Yeah.
Plus the heat index.
And again, I drive, but my dad is this type of distance and the way, in other words, it's not going to be a calm road like this. This is only for a very small amount. Then it's going to be a lot of highways and a lot of tedious maneuvering as you get down towards FIU South. If I had to do it, I would do it, but I don't feel confident as a driver doing this drive, especially how I'm feeling right now. So, you know, mall I could do, but, you know, Dad's driving me.
Show where we are.
So this is Bal Harbor. We just passed the Bal Harbor shops. That's the Bal Harbor shops right there. And technically the sign right there, as you can see, says Surfside. So yes, this is where that unfortunate incident happened with the Surfside building, which is probably right, I think it's literally right there. Right there. I'm guessing it's that lot, right? It's either that lot or like right there. The other buildings are blocking me from seeing it. So we're going ahead now, keep going this way, and then eventually there's going to be a Publix like right over there that we're going to stop at to use the bathroom. This is a process here. There was no, in the past, in reality, there was no reason to not share with you guys more of my life. Because I don't feel like I can make these videos without being more honest, because it sounds more sharing, because it sounds very vague. It's like there's a job and the company took the job, and it doesn't really make sense. But I have been working in teaching in education now for over 3 years. Before that, I worked at a private school also down this way towards Miami Beach, which was a big challenge to get to every day. And the distance actually wasn't the main issue. The main issue was that they were extremely inconsistent also in their employment, much more so than Dade schools, because it was like the type of situation, unless someone was out on maternity leave or something on that level, then they didn't want you. That's how little need they had for openings at the school. So that's how a lot of private schools are. So we're headed now down this way and through Surfside now, and eventually we'll get to the Publix now, which is coming up very shortly, and then we'll head through Miami Beach, and then we're gonna have to, then the drive doesn't become so nice anymore. You know, once you get, there's a lot of windingness now, but once you get, unfortunately, like, it goes like straight one way, and then eventually you're gonna have to turn, and that's how you get into Miami. And the traffic and the drive, once you make that turn away from Miami Beach into Miami, becomes a pretty brutal drive. So yeah, we just passed the lot. That's the lot right there of the Surfside building, which, as far as we have heard, is going to be a developer site, because that is unfortunately a lot of the types that every once in a while you do come across someone who's a good person in Miami, but Miami is the type of place where people will buy a beautiful new condo on the site of the Surfside building lot and think it's great, not care. In reality, it should have been a park, it should have been a memorial park, and people think very differently here in Miami. They don't care about those things at all. You know, a few days of news coverage and that's it. So now we're headed back to go to Publix. So that's where I will cut right now. So this is Publix here through Surfside, and so now we're gonna go into the Publix here and use the bathroom real quick. So I just got into Publix here on Surfside, technically Miami Beach, and I'm gonna go up the crazy escalator here to get into the store. I'll show you that. I'll show you guys this thingy here. great shopping cart experience. So we just left the Publix here in Surfside, Miami Beach, and okay, I'm on an electric bike. So now we are leaving the Publix. I'm gonna head back on the pathway now. You need a buckle?
Yes.
Stop the buckle. To head out on this unfortunate thing that we have to do now. It's definitely not ideal because, again, I've explained that I've been working for them for over 3 years, about 3 years. Right? 2019.
It's
August of 2019.
over 3 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
4 years, actually. And then 3 years or so actively working. So this is technically Surfside, right?
No, this is Miami Beach.
Technically Miami Beach. They're all so connected that it kind of becomes a blur. You know, all these little buildings are like either major work being done or condemned. Like that one's condemned.
You think you're getting a good
Yeah.
log in there, and you're not.
You're getting some cute little studio or one bedroom at the most in this really popular area, and they're either turning it into a hotel or a development, or at the very least, huge work being done. So, yeah. So, we are headed down through Miami Beach right now. Some of the homes that are on the water here. Lovely entrepreneurs. They can't explain what they do for a living. That I don't want to move. Neither of us do. Dad, this is our home. There is, yeah, if we had to move, if we had to, we would.
Entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur. It's good to be an entrepreneur. This is the house that always has music videos at it.
Yeah.
Like for some reason, this weird house right here, it always had like one music video.
Why is there a single chair facing the book?
Because they have issues. You know, this is where I grew up, and specifically down here. And if I had to, you know, a matter of having a roof over your head, I would move. But I don't want to have to move because this is my home. So I'm doing everything I can right now to try to save my home. And it looks like it would seem optimistic that because of the job I attained yesterday, we might be headed in that direction. So we don't come down here that often, but it's a very pretty view because we don't have that much of a reason to come down here. I used to do this drive all the time when I went to UM because this is how you get to UM, right? Especially when you're coming from Miami Beach. But that's Brickell down there, and then you'll see actually the cruises there. You can actually see the cruises, cruise ships. It is a very pretty drive, and that's why I have been so desperate to save this. You actually get emotional when you see what you could have been losing. You don't think so? Yeah, you're saying to yourself, this is my home. I grew up in this environment. You know, as I've mentioned in my other videos, we were lucky enough to have Dad bought our home 30 years ago. So taxes are very low, about $1,000 a year actually, because of the price point never go back to a normal maintenance. It'll always be over $1,000, but hopefully be a little bit more manageable where you don't think necessarily, okay, now I got an assessment. So we're trying to take this one day at a time here. And I'm very grateful, like I have said, that I had attained another job. So let me show you a little bit of the scenery as we're driving. So we are now going into Miami. You have a lot of like artsy type stuff that pops up. You know, there's different like art galleries and that type of stuff. But it's, you know, also a little bit of a false sense of what you see here. You know, this is Miami Beach, and if you're not familiar with Miami Beach is not the safest place anymore. It's gotten pretty bad over the years. So, you know, you'll end up having a lot of artsy events that happen. Are we going the right way? Oh, that's a quick little turn. So we're headed into downtown now, and that way you end up in Fort Lauderdale. So now we're headed downtown, which means Brickell and downtown Miami. And then eventually we'll turn off again, right, to head down towards. So we don't actually turn like we're going towards Brickell. You end up turning again. So if you end up, I believe, going this way, it's Brickell, right? Brickell's like there, but then we're gonna go this way. Yeah. Well, can we not panic? We have to. I know, but we have to try to be calm about this and try to get through it. They are very nice people for making us come down here and not giving us any option of any school or any location that we could have gone to that was closer to get this done. So we are headed into Miami now. This is also how I went to UM. The whole drive that I've been showing you, and if I was going to UM, you would continue this way, and eventually UM will be on the right. Am I right about that? Yes? No, I'm not right about that. And I'm not right about my own driving capabilities. No, I'll get lost. Okay, I don't know. UM is down this way somewhere. You went this way. Good enough. This is why I don't drive.
What is this line here?
Okay, give me 1 second. So, passing the airport now. Fort Lauderdale, Miami. Don't go to Nicole for direction. She will tell you that this is the wrong airport.
Let Nicole fly the plane.
Or let Nicole fly a plane. This is also not a good idea. But that is the airport. They fly in the air, in the sky. Isn't this where that restaurant is? There's like a famous restaurant that like you sit at and watch the planes go. It's true, isn't it? Isn't that called like the restaurant here that you eat at, and you can see the planes go up. How are we doing? Badly?
Fine. Nicole will be flying your plane today. I took online video.
I took an online course simulator. Good enough. Actually getting hit with tolls?
Yeah.
Oh, fun. More expense. So if that old lady sub goes down here to do this also, she's, what is this number that's calling me? From Mount Doral, Florida?
Up there, Ocala.
That's up there. Oh, that must, maybe that's like a rental agency I had reached out to. It's not here.
Where's the H-26?
graduated from undergrad in 2015, and then I ended up going to UM for my master's. And when I went to FIU has two campuses. The main campus is unfortunately down here, very far, known as South Campus. The North Campus, also known as Biscayne Bay Campus, is a few blocks from my house. And technically, if I could get in a canoe out of my building, I could actually get to the park and then access the school. But you have to go around if you're in a car. And that was the campus that I predominantly went to. I ended up one semester. What's wrong? So now we're going the wrong way. So we have just arrived at FIU South Campus. Where in the world are we going to park? Because we haven't been down here in forever. Huh? So long. It only took one semester of courses here, luckily, that I had to take for my program. It's a whole story in itself.
That's the next video.
Take your time. At least we know we're here, even if you have to go in and out of the areas here, you know?
It's like a roundabout.
Yeah, it's great. I actually can remember the last time we went out of those gates there, where I was done, where I didn't have to do this anymore here. It was a miserable school. Miserable. The Biscayne Bay area I got by. So is this where you pay at a meter or something and you enter your license plate? Is that how it works?
I think so.
Okay. So we just got to FIU. I think I'm going to actually start to film another video right now that I've been wanting to make, and then I'll continue with this one. So we are down at FIU campus. This is the FIU South Campus. So I have been working for Miami-Dade County Public Schools for the past, since 2019, working actively at one school since the beginning of 2020. The last 3 years, I wore masks to school, wore N95 to school. There were many times when I worked there in the last 3 years, especially the masks, that in the height of everything, I didn't eat or drink the entire day. Came out with bruises came out with lines on my face. Miami-Dade County Schools transitioned all employees, so AKA, also known as fired everyone. No notice, 2 days or so before going back. So we don't work in the summer, so we have to account for our losses during the summer. And they have now switched us over to this thing called Kelly Services, where we're going to be like birds and trying to catch the bread to see if we can pick up a shift of subbing. And now we're in a position where there's absolutely no guarantee of employment. And that video that I posted yesterday saying that I thought I had gained employment to help me out, although it's a good paying job, there's now been a hiccup with it. And I have absolutely no idea now when it will start. So I'm unfortunately quite sick again. This was the most disgusting bunch of people in this room, as far as the ones that were running it, that I've ever seen. We had someone from district in the room. She was screaming at us. The session went over. Everyone has to use the bathroom. It's over. She had done everything, and she's trying to give final words or something. And we're starting to get up to go to the bathroom and leave. And we're adults. And the woman from district, from Dade County, screaming at me in front of a room full of people there. Sit down. She goes, sit down now. Like, I have to use the bathroom. I'm sorry. I have never seen such behavior. I believe why they're doing this is an ability to cut down on the usage of subs. So, for example, at the school I was working at, you would work in a class, but you also would do a lot of floater activities and still get paid. Now, that doesn't look like that will be happening. So a lot of slow periods, and also anyone could go on the site. So anyone can, in theory, take your job from you if you're not quick enough. The same way, you know, you get a job at Hollister or something, everyone's on the app trying to get a job. Same thing. So I have a ton of expenses. I have absolutely no idea today what my income is. I was counting on going back to work on the 17th now to work. I have absolutely no idea what my expenses are. And even if I show up to work on the 17th and try to get a few days of work in before this officially kicks in, I still don't see how I can stay here, because I don't know, once this kicks in with Kelly, what my steady income is going to be. Before it was you just showed up every day. And I feel very, very sick. I have a ton of expenses. There's more assessments coming, and to stay and take the risk would be saying, oh, the jobs are all going to work out. Everything's going to work out. And if it doesn't work out, I may not be paying my bills. Or I may be panic selling and selling really low. And I would be selling lower anyhow, because I have assessments that are going to come out of escrow the longer I stay. So this is a mess. And now headed back to Sunny Isles to see if I'm contacting a realtor to sell my apartment. This Miami-Dade County Public Schools has destroyed us. Destroyed our ability to work and make a living. The orientation session was brutal. There appears to be absolutely no consistency with employment. It was bad enough before, because before there was a situation where we didn't work during holidays, we didn't work in the summers, but at least we worked 4 days a week, 8 days per pay period. And now, since this Kelly took over, there's absolutely no guarantee if we will be able to work on the days that we were floaters. Absolutely no guarantee of that.
They are the most disgusting, corrupt organization.
I was in this room during the session. It was getting hostile. I mean, you had many subs that were in this room that were very rapidly asking questions about how this is going to affect their life and their income. They have destroyed us. Dade County Schools, they have destroyed us. They took away our jobs. We have absolutely no idea now the consistency. It was bad enough, the consistency before, but I knew that I worked 4 days a week. Now it would seem that there's absolutely no guarantee how much I will be making. I just got off text message with a realtor, and he's sending me the listing agreement to sell my home, because if I don't have any income from my subbing, and it means I could get in trouble very quickly. I'm crying because I just got out of work. You guys never knew it, but I actually work as a substitute teacher for Miami-Dade County Schools. This is just another day working for Miami-Dade County Public Schools. This video, I think, is going to give a bit of clarity to you guys on what my job situation has been, and give a little bit of explanation to filling in the blank of everything I've been going through. So I have talked to you guys, if you've been following my channel, about how I was working a job for the last 4 years, since 2019 I was approved, and then I officially started working for them in 2020 through now. And I've been talking to you guys about how right before I went back to work, and I'll explain what I mean by went back to work, I got an email notification saying that we had been removed and been outsourced, and that I was very worried about what my income was going to be under these new regulations. And I told the audience how, I told you guys how I went out and got a second job, number one, to cover myself for this situation, and two, because I needed extra income. And there was always a lot of like fill in the blank gaps as to, you know, why there were breaks in my employment, what I mean by going back to work. and I'm here to explain that a little bit more in this video, because I realize that there's really no reason to hold back on that. So I have been working for Miami-Dade County Public Schools as a degreed substitute teacher for the last 4 years. I got approved by them in 2019, and I have been working for them ever since. I worked for them during the thing we all went through a couple of years ago, and I mean, I was wearing an N95 to work, didn't eat or drink the entire day. I was one of the first people to go back to work while other things were still shut down. We didn't have lunch periods, whereas we're supposed to have lunch. We were ordered that we had to eat in the room with the students while they coughed all over the place. I remember Miami-Dade County put out an infomercial, this video showing how clean everything was and how everything was going to go really well. And in the video, you see all the students, they have their mask on, and then they take down the mask and cough all over the place. And so I didn't eat or drink the entire day in the room. I would call up security every once in a while at the office and ask them to go to the bathroom, in which case in a 6-minute, the security guard would come in and watch the students. I would go out, and for about 6 minutes somehow I ran outside into this atrium area where the classes are, and I would shove food down my throat so fast that a few times I almost choked. And they would scream at me as far as faculty goes and tell me that I was milking the system, essentially, like, we came here to give you a bathroom break for 2 minutes, and you were outside, we clocked you for 6 minutes, and you were out there for 6 minutes, and it would be okay if you were in the bathroom for 6 minutes, but you were out there for 6 minutes shoving some food in your mouth. For the time period that I wore the N95, I would come home and I had actual scar marks on my face during that time period. And I've been working for Miami-Dade County Public Schools. That would explain to you guys why it would appear that in the summers I had more time to work on my channel, why I would talk about things like, oh, I'm going back to work, referring to the summer and the time period of waiting for the school year to start up again. So during the summer, right before school started, we got an email without any notification to our employee email that stated that that essentially Miami-Dade County Public Schools was outsourcing us for our own benefit, they told us, to something called Kelly Education, which is a private company. We were told this was a wonderful thing, and that under the private company, we would have the ability to work 5 days a week instead of the 4. So to give you some context, under Miami-Dade County Public Schools, a pay cycle is essentially 10 calendar days, and during those 10 calendar days, you can only work 8 days. So you could have it where both days off are in 1 week or one per week, but you get the point. You can only work 8 days per pay period, and that was so that Dade County schools could avoid paying you insurance. So we were told, Kelly Education, this is amazing because you're going to get to work 5 days a week under some loophole where they don't have to pay you insurance. So I wrote my employer at the school I particularly work at a very heartfelt email to at least 3 critical supervisors who have overseen me, stating to them how concerned I was. I said that if my income were to drastically drop, I would have to move. Can you write me a letter of recommendation? Not one of them answered me in terms of the letter of recommendation. They, to this day, because I'm actually still working for them, they have not actually ever referenced the fact that I asked them for a letter of recommendation. This is the community that I've been a part of for the last 4 years. So finally I got one of them on the phone. Again, no reference to the letter of recommendation. And they said, what's going to happen with this? They brushed it off, said it's not going to be any different. And just instead of entering your hours through the Dade system, I'm going to enter it through Kelly. And I said to this person, I said, I'm concerned because at this school, you always told us as subs, just come in every day. That's what we were told. And that we would be assigned somewhere. And we always were. We were very rarely having an easy day. So now it's a situation where this person seems to be scheduling us here or there ahead of time. They're making it known it could be the morning of, and you may not even know if you're working. We would occasionally at the school do, I would call it almost floater activities for the school, where we were either helping a teacher in the room. It could be a teacher that was very disabled and the teacher needed help in the room, so you would be there to assist them, take the students to lunch, take them to the playground, and it's not like you were goofing off. These were environments where the teacher needed a lot of help. Hallway proctoring, to helping with, the organization of how the classes move through the halls, with testing. So we did a lot. I remember the first week of school at this school I work at, I literally unpacked the entire classroom. The students bring in like heavy books and papers, and I unpacked it for every student, and literally my back was hurting for days. Like my back went out. So it's not like you're goofing off. So we were told that this was for our benefit. The supervisors told me that there would be no difference. We'll be entered ahead of time. You'll be able to work all the time. So essentially I would work 16 days per month on average of workable days. And now I'm being told that there is no knowledge as to how much I will be working, which is exactly what I told them at the beginning of the year. There was a very brief time period, maybe 3 or 4 days, where I and a few other subs that have been working the school for a long time were put into something called principal request, where essentially we were going to be able to just come in every day as we would and then be assigned. Now we're being told we'll be scheduled ahead of time when they know. It could be a day before, it could be a few days before, it could be the morning of. And what's weird is this is the type of situation where people would say, don't they need subs? And the answer is yes. That's the odd part of this, where it is the norm, especially in this school environment, that there are never enough subs. The students are always having to have what's called being split, which is where a class, if there's 20 kids in the class, if there's 20 students in the class, then 5 go to one room, 5 go to another room. That was the norm. Last year, the school was so over capacity that it was very well known, the school and its situation. You're talking, there was a time period, there were probably 34, 36 people in a room, when the state says that there should be like 19. So, there are a number of subs that have been loyally working this school for the last couple of years, and we're all seeming to be told a different rendition of our scheduling. So, for example, if someone's scheduled on one day, then the next person may be told there wasn't any availability that day, even though that wasn't true, in order to space us out and give priority to certain subs. In other words, to give, like, breadcrumbing, it's called. Like, I think in psychology, it's actually called breadcrumbing. So you throw some crumbs this way, throw some breadcrumbs that way, and hopefully keep everyone around. So I don't have any idea what the consistency will be of this particular job. I was able to see on my schedule, because I like to mark down on the calendar when the old payroll periods would have been, so I could say to myself, how much am I actually missing per payroll period? Right now, I'm scheduled this week where I would need to be scheduled next week. I calculated an additional 3 days in order to be consistent with the way things were before. I don't know what's going to happen, though. I went from an environment where they were desperate for subs to now being told, I have no idea if you're working, Monday, essentially. I'm very grateful that I have my second job. It's not, enough income, but it's a start. And it's something that I made sure I pursued pretty much the day that I found out about this, the day I got the email. And in a sense, I covered myself. And my dad pushed me to take certain steps to make sure I was interviewed and get the job, being very pushy, calling a lot, that type of stuff. And it sometimes, as they put it, it works, sometimes it doesn't. You're calling up 1,000,000 times to be interviewed. And in this case, it worked. And I'm very happy at this second job. And who knows, in the long run, I say long run, in the next couple months, if maybe there's even a possibility of going more full-time with them, or really, really, I hope to really grow with them and open up more availability to them. So I've covered myself in a sense, and then don't forget that is a year-long position. It's not like subbing where there's the holidays and then the summers. So I'm very grateful to have that income.
Did you want to explain that when you got the notice with the transition that you had a car and travel?
So what I'm going to show you in this video, where I kind of bounce, there's a lot of sun on my side.
Why don't you come over?
What I'm going to show you, switch seats with my dad. Still a lot of sun.
No, that's good.
What I'm going to show you in this video, where I kind of bounce between this footage and this frame where I'm filming up to date, and some footage I'm going to show you, is that when I got the notice, from Dade Schools informing about Kelly Education, we were informed we would be contacted by Kelly. So I got a phone call or a voicemail from them a day or so later. If you are still interested in working for Dade Schools, it's like, we rely on our income. What do you mean if you're still interested? Then you need to take the following steps. And the following steps was that I had to go to a transition meeting, where it was a room full of very sad people who learned that they had basically just been fired and lost their job by Dade Schools. Again, Dade Schools told not only all the subs, but all the teachers, everyone, that this is for everyone's benefit. We're doing the subs a favor. And there's been a lot of comments on the internet, especially on Twitter. I've been seeing, I noticed that the Miami Herald and different people have been writing stories about this. They're because they're talking about how now you only need a GED. I think at one time, Dade Schools required you to have a 4-year degree to be a sub. Then they lowered it to an AA. You had to have college credit. You had to take a course, even if you had an AA or a bachelor's degree, on classroom management and everything like that. And it was a big process. It was a huge process to become a sub. And now you just need a GED. I don't even know if they make you take the course anymore. So I know the Miami Herald and a lot of Twitter posts have been posting about, wow, so someone who dropped out of high school can now be teaching your student in school. That is a scary thought. And they're all writing, oh, this is because Dade is more interested in having mass amount of people than their priority. And it's like, you guys got it all wrong. This has nothing to do with that. This has to do with budget. Because at the school I work for, they have already had situations where they're taking faculty that are not subs, Spanish teachers, office staff, putting them in classrooms even for a time period, a few hours to a day, to cover the shortage in subs. So people would say, oh, well, if there's that much of a shortage, why are you worried you're not going to be working? Because it almost seems like they would rather put a Spanish teacher or an office staff member in a room, or split the students to, this is all about budget. This is all about cutting down. This is all about, they would rather not pay a sub and throw an office staff member, a PE teacher, which they've done in the past, into a room And they had the attitude of that one of the reasons we were always told come in, no matter what, come in, is that a lot of times you don't know what the day is going to throw at you. So in other words, if you have a teacher who leaves spur of the moment and they leave at 11 o'clock, that sub that was helping a teacher from 8 in the morning to 11 in the morning was now told at 11 a.m. you report to Mrs. So-and-so's class to fill in because she had to leave. There was an emergency. Now the school's perspective seems to be, okay, at 11 o'clock we will tell the Spanish teacher to go there, or at 11 o'clock we will then split the students and send them to the different rooms. That I give you that scenario that you were always told to come in. Essentially you were told, go help Mrs. So-and-so out for 2 hours, then you get a text, I need you to report to room so-and-so, Miss So-and-so had to leave. Now the school would rather take someone, a Spanish teacher, an office staff member, the PE teacher, and stick them in the room, split the kids up, split the students up, because it's all about budget. Because yes, they took away the break from the PE teacher. Yes, they made the Spanish teacher have to sub for the day. They don't really care about that. But at least they didn't have to pay you your $100 to come in. That's what this is about. It's all about budget. So all these posts, like from the Herald and people talking on Twitter, a lot of times these are people who don't have any experience in this. They're just speculating what this is about or taking it on face value. This has nothing to do with getting more and more people. You may say it helps a little, I guess, if you're technically saying they've lowered the requirements, but this doesn't have to do with that. This has to do with budget. So if you're following my channel, you've seen things on my channel where I've posted, for example, my air conditioning doesn't work in my car, and during the summer we had heat indexes of deadly heat temperature warnings in Miami-Dade County of 120 degrees. There were times I could not make it from the car up the street. I made videos like mission aborted, how to go back inside. It was impossible. So for the Kelly transition meeting, they sent me down way past FIU, deep into Miami. It was an hour to get there, an hour back. That was actually around the time period that I filmed the video where I went to FIU South Campus, and I posted that video where I talked about the incident that happened with my professor, because I ended up stopping there to eat a sandwich that I brought with me before going to the transition meeting, which was down the street. So I had to rent a car, $160 to rent a car last minute because I didn't know about it, and I had to. So we just left FIU and we're going to go over to this school where this session is being held. It's not the school I work at, but it's where we got to go for this session now, which is the orientation of the job takeover. And I'm just going to have to, get through this. So let's go there now. So I'm finally arriving now at this school, which is in the middle of nowhere here. It is very hot out. So I'm just going to go in here, and hopefully this won't be that long and be one of the last steps that unfortunately I had to do, and hopefully this will then improve. Run to the transition meeting. Car even had poor air conditioning, better than what we had, which was nothing. Go to this meeting where we sat in a room. I don't know if everyone was just very hostile with what was happening, but I know all the subs were fighting with each other. So I got there, and there was a woman who instantly, I went with my dad, he took me, and there's some woman who was a sub instantly was picking a fight with me and my dad. We made sure we didn't respond to her. What happened was we went into their office, because the transition meeting was held at a school that was not in session during the summer. We walked into an office. We were like, where do we go for this? We're confused. And this woman snaps at us. I already asked her. So everyone was really tense. She would end up being in the session meeting, and she would end up raising her hand and saying, I was a pool sub. What am I going to be paid? And they're like, oh, it's going to be the same. So let me explain to you guys what a pool sub is. A pool sub is someone who, although you may go to the same school all the time to work as a sub, a pool sub is someone who works every day, right? They get benefits. I don't know if they work every day or not. I think they work every day, and they are paid a much higher rate. So it's a good, probably 20% higher. I don't even know.
What's the difference between
to be a pool sub. And she raised her hand, and they explained that is now gone. That's not an option anymore. It doesn't exist. And Then they gave different tiers. They were like, if you have a bachelor's or a master's, no distinction between the two. They said you're paid this rate. If you only have an associate's, you're paid this rate. In their system, they have told me that I have an associate's degree. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree. I think they even told me that I have an associate's degree from Miami-Dade College. I went to FIU for my bachelor's and I went to University of Miami for my master's. The only thing I took at Dade was the mandatory 2-week course that Dade schools required me to take on classroom management in order to become a sub. It was a 2-week curriculum that I had to take, like two different Saturdays that Dade County used to require. So I've been sending them one email after another telling them they need to change my pay rate. It's not dramatically different, which is ironic. It's like $4, but you know what? It adds up over time, and it's more the moral of it. Like it's really annoying me. So I do not know how consistent this will be. Like I said, I protected myself from this by going out and getting the second position. That means a lot more to me. You know, in the second position, within a month and a half of being there, they gave me a recognition award at a very publicly seen meeting where every staff member was present. It was emotional. It was also very surprising, to be quite honest, because you have people that have been with the company there for 4 or 5 years, and here I am as someone who's been there a month and a half. Some people would argue maybe it's because they're welcoming you, but whatever. They gave me a recognition award, and I was very, very grateful, and I was like tearing up, mostly because I think in my mind I was comparing the two jobs. I was comparing a job that I've been at for 4 years, and I don't know how much I'm going to get into it in this video, because this is enough that I'm being very open in this video about my employment situation. There have been comments and conversations said to me during my 4 years working as a sub that are so bad that my general audience member would tell me, how is it that you have not quit this position? I don't know how consistent this position is going to be. I don't have any confidence in it. I don't have any faith in it. It could be extremely sporadic. It could go from what was 16 days to 4. No idea. The other job is pretty consistent, and pretty much you would say only can move in a direction of growth. Eventually, the more you prove yourself to them, which is probably how it should be at a job. The more you prove yourself, the more you see yourself accelerating. Kelly meeting was a group of very sad individuals. Not that I'm insulting them. I'm saying like literally they were sad. All very tense, all yelling out questions where the environment was quite hostile. What is going to happen to this? What is going to happen to our mandatory alternative plan where you've taken income out of our check every month, even though we were a sub, which 30% of it I lose. All these questions. I was working at a sub, and will there be consistency? What will my income be?
Mention the way they spoke to you.
The faculty that came to speak to us as representatives from Kelly, they some of them came from other states, and they were more interested in telling us about different coupons we could get. Like you could go to 7-Eleven and get like a Slurpee coupon. I don't know if 7-Eleven was one of the places. Like different things that you could get coupons on, like a Slurpee, than talking to us about the position. That's how pathetic the environment was and how they made us feel. There was a Dade County representative that was there who was overseeing the transitions. And as I've mentioned previously in other videos, some of you follow my channel, I do have a hidden disability where it causes me to need to go to the bathroom more often than not. The transition meeting went over the allotted time, and somehow I made it 3 hours sitting there, probably because I wasn't drinking anything. And finally, I was gonna burst. I had to get up and go to the bathroom. And the meeting, in other words, was supposed to, let's say, I don't remember the exact times. Let's say the meeting was supposed to end at 3, and it was now 3:05. It was like, I'm getting up. I need to go. So 3:10, and politely, quietly getting up to go, got towards the door, crept along the side of the room. All of a sudden, I hear a woman that screeched at the top of her lungs. I don't want to mimic her because I don't like mimicking things like that. But she was sitting in a tall stool chair, and she was the representative from Dade to oversee the transition. And she's in her chair, like, because I'm showing you like the chair, like she was in her chair, or stool, high stool chair, and she leans forward like almost like she looked like a goblin, like in a movie where like the person is like a Halloween movie or something. And she screams at me at the top of her lungs in front of the entire room. Sit down, she goes. You're leaving before we've just dismissed you. It was like, are you talking to a student that is misbehaving? And if you were talking to a student like that, that would be a problem. So I politely said, I have a disability, I need to use the bathroom. And she just glares and growls, and I walked out. I don't know what's going to be from this. Some of you would be like, oh my God, you're putting this on the internet and you're posting this video. It's like, number one, I don't think they care. I think that's just the type of environment I'm dealing with. They don't care. I'm sure they all know about my channel. And the truth is, what I'm saying in this video is not a secret to anyone. The Dade County system fired and outsourced all of its subs to this private company that they claimed the reason was for our benefit. And it has been so far a catastrophe when it comes to trying to speculate what the consistency in our work will be. Right now I'm still working in this environment. I'm working in this environment not knowing any idea what my consistency or income level will be from it. Luckily, my dad is working and he's carrying us quite a bit. So combined with my dad now having employment, my second job, and then some specs from this, we should be okay. But I will still need to give a lot of thought to what my next step is. I put a video up where I said I was going to work as my first day under Kelly, and I expected there to be some sort of a difference. And some people would say maybe it's just in your head, like your ego's bruised and you're going to think they're treating you differently. No, they're treating me differently. A lot of the faculty is calling me a Kelly girl. If you're not familiar with that term, Kelly Education is a very old company actually that used to be in a general temp agency before substitute teaching. And they used to run a commercial like during your grandparents' generation that said, be a Kelly girl. And what they were referring to was that you didn't need, during your grandparents' generation, it showed a woman in the 40s or the 50s with her hair and stereotypical look. And the commercial ran Be a Kelly Girl, or it was a catalog commercial, or whatever, both, I think. And it basically what it was saying was you don't have to sit at home anymore and just cook your husband's food. Now you can work too and be a Kelly Girl. And a lot of the faculty at my job has gone from calling me, miss, and approaching me in that manner to now being like, hey, Kelly Girl. That's a noticeable difference. Another difference was you just come in, everyone knows you. Now they make effort not to open the door for you to get in to the school, having you sign in even though they've known you for 4 years. The particular route when you work, for example, kindergarten or first grade, because of the vigor of the position, in other words, being in a room with such young students, a lot of which are ESE, which stands for Exceptional Student Education, you'll go into a room, and at that age, they're not diagnosed. So you go into a room that has 20 kids, 6, 7 of them maybe have severe autism, and you are in there responsible for them, taking care of them the entire day because they're undiagnosed ESE. And so the day is extremely difficult and extremely vigorous. So instead of the school day, work day ending for a teacher, a regular teacher for that day at 3, it ends at 2. And during the Dade County, under Dade County substitutes, unless something was very rare and you just needed to fill in for a teacher from 2 to 3, you were allowed to leave at 2 because your day was so difficult that you left at 2. And if for the normal teachers, if you're wondering, they may stay to 3, but they're doing planning period. They're not working. They're organizing their room. So we would always leave. That was the protocol. We would leave. We were told you're done for the day. Leave. So we would, after dismissal and dismissal duties, we, left 2:20 or something like that on days that we worked that route. And I got in and thought I was leaving. I'm like, okay, am I free to go? Because I figured there might be an issue with that. I thought about that. And the supervisor goes, well, technically you need to stay to 3:20. And I go, you haven't done that in 4 years. And they go, well, that's what Kelly wants from you. So they implied that they would make an issue of it to Kelly, even though they've known me for 4 years, even though I worked during everything we went through in the last couple of years with an N95 and didn't eat or drink the entire day, even though they were under the state system with teachers. They had a duty to allow for me to eat 30-minute lunch. So that happened yesterday, where I worked a route that I was supposed to be out at 2:20. And I, along with another sub who was elderly, who worked a similar room as me, we went to the tables in the atrium where the students eat lunch, and we sat there. We told her, okay, are we needed anywhere? And she goes, no. Are we allowed to leave? Not really. Went and sat at a table and talked about what had happened. I'm Kelly. We sat at a table and stared at the wall for an hour. Got paid the same amount. You have to understand this is not an hourly position. It's a day rate. So people would say like, oh, well, maybe they didn't want to pay you an extra hour. It's like it's a day rate, so it doesn't matter either way. You could have let us leave and we would have been paid the same. I also noticed that a lot of the faculty won't say hello to me anymore. I'm not imagining it either. And they're making comments to me, hello, Kelly girl. Like, that's not something I'm imagining. They're calling me, hey, Kelly girl. I've had at least 2 employees say it to me. Say exactly the truth that I'm going to tell you. I'm going to use this experience as the kick in the butt that I needed to motivate myself to say, hey, I have a bachelor's degree, I have a master's degree. I need to apply for things. It takes time to get a good position. I need to apply for things and not give it a lot of thought, but just apply for things and try to get myself out of this situation. I hope that this video has given some clarity as to what I've been going through. It's, I think that now that I've made this video, and that's without getting into specifics, I can start to explain more of my time and my days to my audience, different things that happen. I mean, maybe some of you may ask, why didn't I ever become a full-time teacher? And the answer is I tried. There's 2 ways to become a full-time teacher. One is to get fully certified. The other is something called a statement of eligibility. And I tried with the statement of eligibility. I was allowed to take on the position that it was under. And they made comments, the particular person that I interviewed with, that my youth, my appearance, all that was an issue. I'll probably get more into that in another video. You know, somebody will be, oh, try another school. Yeah, that's always a possibility, but there's not that many schools in Dade that are doable, to be honest, and that's another video. You know, I'm gonna edit this between tonight and tomorrow. It's gonna be a video that requires a lot of time and editing to get this right, and because I want to be able to show you what happened with the transition, because I filmed in the hall there at the school that they held it at. And just go from there. And I hope that this video is kind of a gateway for me to, you know, when I have a bad day, I'm coming on and I'm talking to you guys to the camera and being like really, really vague as to what happened. And maybe I can, maybe it'll all kind of make more sense. But thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys always, and I will see you soon in my next video. I have Patreon and YouTube channel memberships if you're interested, and I will see you soon in my next video, and bye.